Well, I'm devastated. I really don't know how to tell you this. But today's the 31st of May. Yesterday, obviously, was the 30th. And I spent most of the day cleaning the fire in the chimney and the inside of Freedom. And every second Sunday of the month, I clean my boat. And I'm devastated because she's been attacked. Freedom has actually been attacked, even in the Marina. Can't believe it. Absolutely gutted. So I'm going to have a cup of tea, slice of toast, and I'm going to go and show you. Apparently there was a gang of 3 that's done the naughtiness on us, and well, I don't know what to say. I'll show you when I've had my breakfast. Right, I'll show you the damage. Can't believe this. Just look here. And here. And all up my windscreen. That's what happens when you live on a marina that's got a lot of residential Canadian geese. So I think I better get my cleaning gear out and get rid of this, because it's all the way down the side of my boat. Terrible. Right, it's what day is it today? 1st of June. It's a beautiful day, and I've already got some bits and pieces to put together for this vlog, but I just thought to do something a little bit different. I've put in together a bit of a to-do list for freedom. As you know, I've already painted out the engine bay, and I've stripped out and painted out the gas locker, and I'm going to just show you one or two of the things that's on my list of to do, and I'm always open to help and suggestions, because some of these I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to be doing, so you'll see as we go along. But let me just show you what I'm up against. Now, one of the things that's always bothered me on this boat is that there isn't any inspection holes, and inspection holes are what's been cut into the floor, normally with a cover, and there, so as the name suggests, you can see down into the actual hull of the boat, and you can inspect to see if there's any water ingress. Now, all the pipe work on Freedom for the central heating system, etc., is actually placed, or should I say is boxed in, and again I'll show you that in a minute, but I just need that peace of mind of knowing that I can actually see if there's any water. So my intentions is to cut a hole in the floor, which is a bit scary, and obviously make a cover so it looks neat and tidy when I've done it. So and this will be, I'm going to intend to do it at the very back of the boat, naturally, because the engine's at the back, and water, if there is any leaks, will drain towards the rear. So my object is to cut the hole underneath the stern stairs, for two reasons. A, because it's a low point on the boat, so naturally water would sit there if there was an issue, and secondly, because it's under the stairs, it's not going to be an eyesore if I don't quite make a perfect job of it. So let me just show you how to box all the pipes in first, and then I'll show you where I intend to cut this hole in the not too distant future. Now, this is the rear of the Morso squirrel stove, and the grey box is a thermostat sitting on the water pipe, and what that thermostat does is turn on and off the actual water pump that pushes the water, circulates it around the boat. These two copper pipes are fed behind the kitchen unit where the cooker and the grill etc. is, and then just down here where you can see this like stepped area, the pipe work is boxed in there, as is the pump, and it runs to the first radiator, and then from that radiator it's boxed again into the bedroom where there's a second radiator, and then across the front of the boat and round to the bathroom. Likewise, bathroom would be behind this these cabinets in the kitchen or the galley, and the pipework then comes down behind these cabinets, and then it runs down the side of the boat. I think you can just see there where that electric cable is, again the stepped boxed area, that's where the pipes are in behind. And then behind the sofa there is a radiator, and although I don't use it because there's no point in having a radiator in the lounge when you've already got the Morso squirrel. And then as you can see there's a boxed area again at the bottom, that's where the pipes then go into the electric cupboard. Now I'm going to clear that out in a bit and show you these pipes, because there's another job on my to-do list. But for now, obviously you'll have seen this beautiful staircase on previous videos, and my plan is, I haven't got a lot of room, I don't know whether I might have to take a step out of the way, but I've got to try, I'll just take you with me, I'm going to try and cut, I haven't hoovered up yet, I'm going to cut a square, a foot, maybe, yeah, about 12 inch by 18 inch, a nice decent size, through that piece of floor, and I'm going to create a permanent hatch that I can lift in and out. Directly under this oak floor there will have been, because this was a sail away, which meant it wasn't fitted out, there will be a standard sheet material floor, so 8x4 plywood sheets, and then Jeff has laid these boards over the top. Now he did tell me that there was an inspection hatch in the plywood, but for some reason he's decided to board over the whole lot, which it does bother me. So that is my intention, where these stairs are directly underneath, and as you can see it's going to be well out of sight, so it's not going to be an eyesore, and that's the first thing on my to-do list. Let me go and show you what else we're doing on the outside. Right, the reason I'm holding the camera at this sort of an angle is you'll have seen where I decided to revamp the stern bulkheads with this paint that I found in the locker, and it is actually the same paint that the roof was originally painted in. But I'm hoping the camera is going to pick this up. You can see a massive difference between the colour where the life ring is and the colour on the roof, and even on this part of the roof that's covered with the pram cover, the rear cover, it's gone a lot lighter. And my intention is to source this original paint, and I'm going to do the whole of the roof. I'm going to just take you outside so you can see the complete top of the boat. Wow, it's a gorgeous day, beautiful and sunny out here. Now the condition of the roof itself isn't bad. What we have, obviously you can see the green and then the cream, and down the centre of the roof it's smooth, and to the sides it's a textured finish. It's almost like sand, so it's a non-slip. And as you can see, the one thing with Freedom is she's got a lot of roof space, and I'm just going to walk you down. My intention is that I'm putting 4 solar panels on the front of the boat, and I'm not going to put them as traditionally is done on brackets. They're going to bolt to the rooftop, and between them they're going to offer 1600 watts of solar, so I don't really need to tilt, because that's going to give me a hell of a lot more power than I actually need. But again, if you just come down to where they fell off the boat then, where the cracked cover is, and I lift this edge, I know it's dirty, but you can see the difference in the colour. So this is where I'm going to start the painting, mask it all out. I'm not going to rub it all the way back because I don't see the point of doing that. I'm going to red scotch pad it, which is like a plastic abrasive pad, and sugar soap, which cleans all the grime and the grease. I wash it, let it dry, and then I'm going to reapply the paint directly onto this as it is. It'll be clean, it'll be slightly scored from the scotch pad, and hopefully I won't need to be doing a lot of preparation for it to key. Now this is the only part of the roof I think I need to do a little bit more work on before I put the top coat on. This area here I think is where the original owner touched up and didn't do a great deal of prep, and if I come down to the other end, again I'm hoping you can just see it's a bit scabby, so I'm going to rub that right back, maybe do a little bit of rust treatment on it, and it might warrant extra couple of coats when I put the top coat on. But considering how big this roof is, it's not a great deal to have to worry about. I did notice also, let me just turn this round, there's a couple of scabby bits here. Again, it's not scabby, it's just paint flaking off where it was just painted on in a hurry. So a little bit of preparation there, and then shouldn't be a major task. And I can just see, if I just move back here, I was saying earlier how there's a textured part of the roof and the centre panel is smooth. Now when I come to paint, I'm just painting straight over and trusting that the texture will come through on the new paint, and this obviously will stay as it is now, nice and smooth. So let me just show you my third task I've got to do. Now when I first moved on board, I did notice that there's quite a few on the port side rust patches on this leading edge, and this is a problem. I've rubbed them back, I've rust proofed them, I found a tin of this paint, the original paint, painted the areas in, and it looks absolutely nothing like. So that is a job for when I come to repaint the whole boat. Obviously that's got to be rectified. But the third job that I'm going to do is, you look down the side of the boat, the flat area in front of my foot where I'm standing on now is the gunnel, which again is a textured finish, so you don't slip when you're walking down the side of your boat. And the paint, the green paint, goes all the way down the side. I don't know if you can just see down there, there's a rubbing strip, and that rubbing strip is there, as its name suggests, to rub against any brickwork under a bridge, so you don't actually damage the metal on your boat. So my intentions is, whilst I'm doing all my little tasks, is this area along both sides of the boat, I'm going to mask off at the side here, and then I'm going to rub this back again with a Scotch pad, and I'm painting from the top of the gunnel down to the rubbing strips, and I'm going to paint all this area with a black satin finish. I just think it'll help look nice against the black strips that's on the side, but B, if when I go out, there's no doubt about it, I'm going to catch the side of this boat. And from looking at the trying to match the green up here, it's got to be easier if I paint it all black, just to be able to rub back a scratch and paint it back in with some black paint. So that's my third job. Now the fourth thing on my to-do list, they're not in any particular order, but it's just the way I'm going to present them to you today, is, and I've mentioned this in one of my earlier vlogs, is to connect the engine to the hot water tank, or is the boating term is calorifier. I'm going to refer to it as a hot water tank because that's what you have in your house, and it just makes life a lot easier. So in doing that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to harness the energy, the heat in the water that surrounds your engine. Like in your car, you'll have a jacket running around the engine that's filled with water, and this water is pumped by the engine around it through a radiator which cools the water, and then the water flows back around the engine, keeping the engine cool. Now this water around your engine normally reaches around 80 degrees, so it's flipping hot. And when I'm out cruising, it seems stupid to have this 75 horsepower engine chugging away at the back of the boat, and all it's doing with the water is cooling it for the engine. So what we intend to do on the actual engine block, which I'm going to show you in a minute when I get down in the engine bay, there's an inlet and an outlet already plumbed onto the engine with taps that turned off, and I can run 2 rubber hoses from these taps through the bulkhead into the electric cupboard, where there's the 2 pipes that's then going to feed down to the water tank, which I'm going to show you, to the hot water tank. And by doing this, it means I can utilize the hot water from the engine to actually heat the water that's in the tank. So that will then give me 3 options. At the moment, it's got a 240 volt 1 kilowatt immersion heater like you have in a house, or most houses have or had. So that is the option at the moment I use to heat the water. I have a back boiler with a circulation pump that pumps warm water around the system. I'd never say it gets that hot that you'd want to have a shower with it, but it does run through the water tank and takes off any of the chill in the water, so it means you don't use as much electric when you're heating the water. And then my third option will be when I'm cruising, during the time I'm actually cruising on the water in the tank is getting hot, and if I'm moored up, then I'm leaving myself 2 options. Having 1600 watts of solar, it is possible to run the 1 kilowatt immersion heater, I believe. I've got to look into this in a little bit more depth, but obviously it's also got to charge your batteries, so it's a bit of a fine line between drawing all that current to heat the water or not. But if I'm moored up, I've still got the option where I can run the engine for half an hour. If I need to have a shower, it'll heat the water in the tank. So at great expense, I've arranged to have a technical drawing put together to show you in theory how all this works. So I'm going to turn the camera around and show you. And as you can see, we've spared absolutely no expense whatsoever to have this technical drawing put together to simplify my intentions regarding heating the water on board Freedom. So we will start with the water tank, or the calorifier. I think they call it a calorifier because we also have a water tank which you put your cold water in, so I think that's the reason they do it. Anyway, it's a water tank, so it's a hot water tank. As you can see, we've paid a lot of money to have this technical drawing put together, and this here is a 240 volt 1 kilowatt immersion heater. So whilst I'm in the Marina and I'm plugged into the pontoon mains electric, I've got the timer switch on this that comes on for an hour in the morning and about an hour and a half at night. Gives me a piping hot tank of hot water, and it's ideal. But obviously when you're out on the water, electricity is more of an issue, so this is where you start to rely on your solar and other options. This here, as clear as you can see, is my Morso squirrel back stove with a back boiler. So this is basically a water tank inside the back of the fire with an inlet and outlet pipe. In the circuit there is a 12 volt circulation pump. Now this pump just generally flows the water around through the radiators, but it's coupled inside the actual inside the actual hot water tank. There's a large copper coil. So the water heats up in the boiler, is pushed by the circulation pump around the central heating system, then into the tank via this coil. So it's inside that copper coil, heats the copper coil up, which in turn warms the water that's in the tank before it returns to the back boiler to heat up again. So my third option, which is so sensible, I don't understand why it was never done when the boat was built, is, as you can see, this is the engine, and on the engine there is an inlet and an outlet which is driven by the water pump that also pushes the water around the engine through the cooling tanks and back into the engine. So the hot water again is pushed off the engine through a pipe that's going to go through the bulkhead into a pipe that's inside the electric cupboard here on board, and that will then feed down to the bathroom to where the hot water tank is, and then there's a second coil, a copper coil, inside the tank. So we actually have a twin copper coil, and again the hot water circulates around the copper coil, giving it's got the curls into it, gives it a lot more surface area to heat up the water that's in the tank, and then it flows back into the engine. So in both the back boiler and the engine system, the actual hot water that both of these produce isn't directly in contact with the water that's inside the tank. They both feed through a copper coil, and it's the coil that heats up, and then the hot water then returns back to the engine or back to the back boiler to heat up again, because you're always going to get some temperature loss between either the engine or the back boiler. By the time the water's gone through all the pipes, through the radiators, it will return back at a lower temperature to heat up again. So I hope it was worth spending the thousands of pounds to have this technical drawing put together, and it does make a bit of sense to you, and you can see the reasoning why I think it's worth that little bit of expense to get this engine connected to the pipes that's already in the cupboard that are already feeding down to the water tank. They're not connected, they're just left open-ended because obviously there's no water can get in there because it's sealed in the tank outside the actual coil. And once the engine's connected, we've just got to bleed through to make sure we've got all the air out, so the hot water then is making a complete loop back to the engine, as it does at the moment with the back boiler. But like I said before, the back boiler, to be honest, never gets the water to a temperature where you put your hand under the tap and think, my crikey, that's hot. It's warm, you know, but then it's just a small back boiler pushing through quite a lot of water around a great big boat. And I think that this is the way to go with the engine, because you're generating that heat already, so you're not paying extra diesel cost. If you was like going to have a diesel water heater put on board, then that's basically just a pointless expense, because the engine's already a water heater in its own sense. Just leaving it over on a nice steady tick over half an hour should give me enough hot water in this tank to get an evening shower. And like I say, I'm hoping once I come to put the 1600 watts of solar panel on the roof, that with a decent amount of batteries and the right controller system, there's also going to be a possibility when it's brilliantly hot day like it is today to be able to flick on that immersion heater for half an hour or an hour depending on what advice I'm given, to heat up the water in the tank before leaving it then to just charge the batteries. These options are all going to be something I've got to look at in depth, but that is the theory, and I'm always open to suggestions. If anybody has got any ideas or advice, you know where to send. So I hope, as I say, that £1,000 worth of investment on this drawing has just think of all the cider I could have bought for that, has helped you understand that on board Freedom, this one water tank will have 3 separate ways of heating the water. You can never have too many options. Right, let's go and step into my electric cupboard. This couples up for where I keep my Hoover, spare shoes, carrier bags and everything else that hasn't got somewhere to live. And obviously you've got all the electrics for the boat that come in here, control panels, etc. I just keep all my handy to get tools. Now this is my 3000 watt inverter, and then we have a Sterling Power Products, which is the charger that will charge the batteries when it's plugged into the mains as it is at the moment, and then all these other switches, which is an array of things I haven't had a clue to what to do with as of yet, but they'll all come into play. I'm hoping that there's going to be, once I have the solar installed, there's going to be enough room there to the left of that main electric box there to put my controller. If not, then I'm going to remove this shelf so it gives me all that bulkhead area there to put the electrics in that the solar's going to do, the panels that the solar's going to want to have. I'm stuttering. I don't know why I'm stuttering. Anyway, I've brought you in here to show you all the way down here, down to the floor, and these 2 pipes run down the starboard side, which is the right hand side as you're at the back of the boat, and it goes behind the sofa in the saloon, underneath the sink in the galley, through the bulkhead and into the water tank, the clarifier, which is installed in the bathroom. So what we have to do is, as I turn this camera around, this wall that we're now facing is the bulkhead between the actual cabin of the boat and the engine room. So somewhere down at floor level, right down in there where that brush is, we need to drill 2 holes to bring the water pipes in and return to the engine, and then bring them down to connect to these pipes. Now this is something I can't do, but there is a gentleman that's going to come and have a look at this hopefully today and work out a plan of what's needed to do it. And then, as I say, we're going to harness the hot water from the engine, and that will then give me hot water for a shower after a day's cruising. So I'm going to take you out my cupboard, because you'll be looking at all my bits and pieces in here. Spare fire extinguishers, just a spare, and it's just a handy little cupboard to put all your bits and pieces, and the iron fits under there, look out the way, as does my rechargeable sweeper. Right, you've had a nose, I'm not going to show you anymore, and let's go and have a look at the engine to see where the pipes that these 2 grey ones are going to connect to are actually going to feed and return. Right, engine cover is removed. So where the batteries are, there to your right, and the red switches are, that's the opposite side to where we were a few minutes ago when we was in the electric cupboard. So the pipes that I was showing you that's in the electric cupboard that's going to go down to the water tank need to be connected to the engine. And one good thing is as you can see all the way down there. You can see that brass, hope you can just see it, that brass ferrule there. There's a tap there on the reverse of it, and then you'll see here, look, there's one with a tap on, and one will be the inlet and one will be the outlet, and then we've just got to get the pipes off of there down to the bulkhead and across and down to the floor where the pipes can be connected then in the actual electric cupboard. So it's not a major distance to travel, but it needs to be done properly. And then this big boy here can heat the water that's, you know, used to cool itself, and then go into the hot water tank through the coils and give me hopefully 57 to 60 litres of good hot water to have an evening shower. Cider of the week. Good evening and welcome to this week's Cider of the week. And having just got back from a fairly long hot walk on the towpath with Misty, what a better time to try out an ice cold cider. This week it's an Irish manufacturer called Orchard, which is quite fitting, and it's a 4.5% cider, and this 568ml bottle I bought in Aldi for a staggering 88p. Now, I've never tried this cider before. The only description it gives on the bottle, it just says a premium cider using the best quality apples, but what else would you use? And giving a refreshing smooth taste with full flavour and aroma. So I've actually found a more fitting glass. It's actually got my name on it, so I didn't even know I got that. So without further ado, let's crack it open. Smells like cider. Let's give it a try. Now I'm guessing this is going to be more of a traditional cider. Now I like, to be honest, I do like sweet ciders, and I can drink a traditional cider if it's really cold, which this is, and outside it's really hot, which it is. So let's give it a try. Oh, that surprised me. I actually thought, I'll be totally honest, when it said it was an Irish cider, I thought it was going to be a bit strong and a bit bitter. And because it was only an 88p bottle, I'd already got it in my mind that it wasn't going to be very nice. But I couldn't have been more wrong. It's absolutely bloody gorgeous. It's one of the nicest ciders, honestly. You can actually taste apple. I know that sounds stupid, but some of the ciders that's been played with, all the flavoured ciders, you tend not to taste the cider, you taste all the flavourings that they put in, whether it's limes and strawberries and raspberries and all the rest of it. But I'll tell you something, when I go to Aldi next week on my food shopping, I'm definitely going to have some of this Orchard Irish cider in my basket. It's very refreshing, very, very light. It's not a heavy cider. And I think a couple of these and I could be dancing on the roof. It's lovely. So this is going to go down, I think, as a definite 9. A definite 9 in my book. And if you get a chance and you're in Aldi, just grab a bottle, because they sell them individual. Bang it in the icebox, As you know, I've said before, I don't put ice in my cider because I think it just dilutes it. But I reckon you would enjoy this icy cold with steak and chips. I really do. Or out with your barbecue. It's gorgeous. So until next week, cheers.